We're here with David Disraeli, the personal CFO, and in our last chat, we talked about something I found very, very interesting, the Flex Trust LLC. Now, there's a little bit more to that you didn't mention in our last episode that you wanted to bring up again.
Yes, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the trust part of the Flex Trust LLC, which is the Revocable Living Trust. There's two types of trusts, period. They go by lots of different names, but you either have a revocable trust or an irrevocable trust. The difference is one trust you can change, modify, or shut down completely, and the other trust is permanent. Mm-hmm. So we use the revocable type, and living trust is just a layman's term. It just means while you're alive. So the trust that we're using to form the LLC has many, many other benefits. Probate in Texas is not a huge problem if you have a will, but it's still an administrative nightmare that happens when someone is least able emotionally to deal with it. So a lot of people like the idea that their assets can pass directly to their heirs if they become incapacitated or when they pass away. Mm-hmm. So we create a mechanism for all of our clients, whether they want a Flex Trust LLC for the asset protection or they don't. We create a mechanism that works for when they're healthy and everything's fine, for when there's some sort of impairment, or when they pass away. So it's one plan that goes through all the phases or transitions that people go through in life. So one of the benefits of the anonymous trust is you can put your personal residence inside the trust, so the county records will reflect that it's owned by a trust, and if somebody goes searching, they won't be able to find your name anywhere. So you have anonymity in the ownership of your actual personal residence.
Gotcha. Okay, so your where you live is not public record.
Well, there's a way to find you. I mean,
Right.
a private investigator can find you, but it's not easy because the appraisal districts won't have any record of you owning any property, which is the goal for most of my clients.
I'm curious, are you amazed at how many people are not prepared for these types of things?
I am, and I'm not. I know that dealing with one's mortality, even during COVID, is something that's difficult for a lot of people. I thought people would come out of the woodwork knowing that mortality is a real thing and want to get all their documents looked at. Now, some did, and we've been busy, but I thought our phones would just ring off the hook, and that's not happened.
Right.
But it's been said that between 50 and 60% of Americans don't have a will, or they don't have a will that's valid. So when I meet anybody for business, or sometimes even over coffee, I ask them, do you have a will? When's the last time it was reviewed? And the answer half the time is either I don't have one or it's been ages,
Right.
or I can't find it. So the good news is the state of Texas has a will for you already. It's built into the legislature, into the law, and you won't like it.
That's what I was going to say. I'm going to guess you probably don't like it.
And if you have children and you don't have a guardian appointment in your will because you don't have a will, the state decides where your children are going to live and who's going to raise them, not you. And that is a nightmare. And it's a nightmare that can be easily avoided.
So what is doing this is it an umbrella thing that covers a lot of things, or are there other little things that go along with this type of estate planning?
Well, we don't have 4 or 5 hours to go into the A to Z on estate planning, but yes, a comprehensive estate plan involves either a will or a will and a trust, depending on the size of your estate and your goals. But the idea is to have documents in place that allow for the transition of property to the correct people that you want, when you're either disabled, incapacitated, or at your death. And that could be a combination of powers of attorney and a will, or it could be having a trust where everything is sort of in one document.
Yeah.
And it makes it much, much simpler. By the way, it's important to note that if your assets pass through a living trust, it's not public record. If you have a will, that will has to be probated. You have to file an inventory listing all of your assets and who's going to get those, which A, makes the public aware of everything that you owned, and B, allows creditors and would-be, I wouldn't say would-be, I'd say wannabe heirs, like a long-lost child, to come to the judge and say, hey, I was left out. So if anybody challenges a will, the probate process comes to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
It comes to a halt for 60 days anyway, but it can drag out for years. And everybody listening to this has heard a horror story about probate that lasted for years.
Yeah.
That's why. The
Right.
living trust cannot be challenged. By the time someone knows they were cut out, the money's already been transferred. So now
Right.
they have to sue the beneficiary, and no attorney is going to take that on a contingency. You better have 30 grand in your savings account if you want to start that. And there's about a 95% chance you're going to lose anyway.
Yeah, and I was just thinking. I don't know this. You can give me your expert opinion. Doing something like this makes it, well, one, it makes easy for your loved ones when you're not. But secondly, it avoids a lot of leeches that could come out of the woodwork when they somehow hear about this. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just thinking of marketers. I'm thinking of people that are just trying to seize the moment because you're not prepared. Do you know what I mean by that?
I do, and I've seen that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, a lot of people troll the obituary columns
Yes.
to find customers.
Right.
Well, if someone has a private estate plan, which is the trust, versus a will, which is a public estate plan, then nobody can find out anything. They can search, but nothing exists because a trust is not filed anywhere. It's kept in your safety deposit box or in a safe or in a drawer or at your attorney's office. It's
Or in
not
your
available.
office.
Or in my office or online in a secure folder.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can access it. Nobody can find out what's in it. And if they want something or they believe they were cut out, they have to start from ground zero. And that's very difficult.
Right. It just sounds like something that you need to take care of. It's one of those things in life, probably not something people like to think about, much less do.
People that do it, the benefit really is peace of mind.
Yeah.
When you go to bed at night or when you're on the highway or you get on an airplane and you go to Europe or whatever, you know your family's taken care of. Because honestly, doing an estate plan or even buying life insurance is an unselfish act.
Right.
You're not going to benefit.
Mm-hmm.
But if you love someone, they're going to benefit.
Right.
So that's the reason why someone should take the bull by the horns, get it done. It doesn't take that long and it doesn't cost that much.
You mentioned it'd take quite a while to get full A to Z for estate planning, but that's what you can do when you meet with somebody and they can reach you. They can go to your website. They can email. How would they get a hold of you?
Well, we offer a free 1-hour consultation.
Mm-hmm.
And during that hour, we can talk about all the issues, concerns, goals, objectives. There's no obligation. I give free advice. 90% of the time, people wind up hiring me. So for me, it's a great marketing tool. But there's no obligation. There's no pressure. It's relaxed. I like to go to coffee shops or people's homes, and not some sterile law office. And at that point, they can decide if they want to move forward or not. So my website is www.estateplanningtx.com, and my phone number is 512-464-1110.
David, good seeing you.
Thank you.